Hi folks, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and yesterday we made snowflakes. Today we're going to make icicles. So let's turn down and I'll show you what we're going to do. Icicles are quite a bit simpler than snowflakes. There's only one strand. Now the one I'm going to make is going to be all crystal and quartz, so it's all clear. You don't have to make them that just one color. I've made them in multiple colors. In fact, I made one for each of my family. I have 5 sisters and my mother a few years back, and I made each one a different color so that even though they had crystals throughout, they also had different colors of crystals and beads intermixed with the other beads. So let's turn down and I'll show you what we're going to do. Now I have some 18 gauge wire here. You can use 20 if that's what you prefer, though I wouldn't go any smaller than 20. And then we have a pile of crystals here and a pile of double spacers. So what I'm going to do is, isn't this beautiful? It's an Egyptian crystal, so it's very, very shiny. Then we have this window crystal. This is another Egyptian crystal, a rondelle. Look at this, shimmers in that. Isn't that gorgeous? I think it has a little bit of AB on it. Then we're going to another crystal. Double spacer. Another crystal. Double spacer. A quartz. A crystal, and finally our last crystal. Now this is going to be its length, though it's actually going to be a little longer than this because we're going to wrap up as we come. You don't have to wrap up. I do because it makes it more stable, but what you want to do, because you're going to go wrapping up your side here, is you want your wire to be the length of your bead that you've figured out for your strand, and enough for 2 loops, but then you want double that to come and wind up here. So we want to cut, let's see how long my strand is that I made here. It is a little over 4 inches, so we want 12 inches of wire. So let's get 12 inches of wire out here. Now I didn't check to make sure all of these beads would go onto my wire. I'm hoping they will because, you know, it's sort of necessary. So that's about 12. So we'll cut that off right there and we'll stick our wire aside. We won't need it anymore. So the first thing you want to do is take your end. Well, first thing you want to do is straighten your wire up some because it's pretty crooked coming off of its spool. So let's get it straight as we can. And as soon as we get it straightened, what we want to do then is go to the very top and we want to make a small wrapped loop. Now, since I used 18, this is a little stiff, so might be a little hard to work with. I'm going to make the bigger loop here. And I come around here, and I might have to use my pliers to finish this, pulling this up, but we'll see. Now I got it. So we're going to make a loop here. Now I'm going to take my pliers like I would normally. I'm going to grab my loop, and I'm going to do a small wrap. Now I don't want to do more than 1 or 2 because when we come back up, we're going to want to wrap again. So we just want, and besides this is really stiff because it is 18. So that is always something to think about when you're doing wire wrapping, is that you do need to be able to control your wire to a degree. So let's get this here. And we did slide down the base bar, so we're going to put our pliers inside our loop and then push up. Now we can tighten that some. Oops, that fell down when I tried to tuck it a little tighter. So let's get it out of my camera here. Okay, so it's going to be, well, it's probably just going to stay that way, the way it is right now. And that's fine. We just need our loop at the top for our hanger. So now we're going to string the beads on just like we've got them laid out. So first one is this beautiful Egyptian crystal. Now, like I said, if you wanted to use different colors here, you can. You also can use different sizes. I'm tapering down to this from the largest to the smallest. If you want to have a fatter spot in the middle, you can always put some of your smaller beads in the middle instead of just doing a complete taper like I am. So now I've got my smallest bead here. And we've got our icicle here. Now, hopefully I cut enough wire here to wrap back up. So anyway, what we want to do here is we're going to leave us some space because we're wrapping. But actually, we don't need to leave very much space because when we wrap, we're going to go right into where the double bead cap is. So if you were using something other than the double bead cap, though, you would want to do a wrap. So now I'm going to put a loop down here because I'm going to put a charm on the end. You don't have to. If you don't want to put a charm on the end, you can actually just turn yourself around right here and just start doing your wraps from right here instead of putting your loop on. So we'll move the next crystal down and we're going to take our wire and we're going to wrap around here and just go through our bead here, not the bead, but the bead cap, and then go to the next, and so on till you get to the top, and just spin her around. Now it looks like I should have gotten just a little bit more wire because it looks like I'm going to run out without getting quite to the top. And if that should happen, what you can do is I'm going to not add more wire. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece, I'm going to push it up so it's right there at the bead cap, and then I'm going to tuck it around my double bead cap so that it forms right inside there. Come on, baby, come and tuck. Now it looks like I should have had about another inch, which, you know, I always guesstimate how much I'm going to need here. Okay, this does not want to wrap here, so we're going to take it down and we're going to wrap it right here. So just take your pliers and pull her around till she comes and meets her buddy here. And now we're going to take our clippers and we're going to clip that off. And actually, I'm going to clip it off just a little bit prior to where I've got it wrapped to, so that when I tuck it, it can tuck right in beside this other wire here. Now, if you wanted to, you could take a little more wire and go from the top, but I don't think it's necessary. It's looking pretty good as it is. So now we're going to straighten it some. Oops, there's a loose spot. There's where our problem came in, right there. So because it is, I'm going to twist it a little bit so that it will tighten that up. There we go. So there is our icicle, more or less finished, but we want one more stage. And these are going to be neat. Oh, you pulled the bead cap down there. don't want you doing that. So we'll push you together some. So there we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a snowflake to the bottom. Now you could add any charm to the bottom, a snowflake, a snowman, anything else that you felt like it needed, or nothing at all. Like I said, if you didn't want to do anything at all, and that's where I probably messed up, is you didn't need to put this loop here. And so if you're going to not put the loop in, the triple size is probably enough for the wire. But if you are going to put the loop in, add another inch or two. So we want to make sure we've got this good. So now I'm going to get a jump ring. We're going to put this snowflake on here. And then we will make a loop for the top. So I've got a jump ring. We'll open that baby up. Now, I have always loved an icicle, especially a clear one, but another pretty one is blue, because if you've been around very much ice, as it ages, it actually does turn to blue, or because it compacts down, so the blue colors come out of it. So there we go. There's our snowflake on there. Now we just need to make our loop for the top, and we still have that last piece of wire from when we made our this is the last piece of wire we had from making the loops for our snowflakes. So now we're going to do exactly the same as we did to make the snowflakes to make this this one's come on, baby. This one's hook. It's exactly the same way. So we're going to wrap around here. Come on, babe. Now, you do need to remember this is very stiff wire because it is a bigger size. This is 14, if I recall right. And so I am going to bring this upper one up a little bit more by putting it in a smaller spot and just bringing it up like that. Now, what I'm going to do is just pull it out a little bit. We're going to take our flat nose pliers, put them in here, give a bend, and I'm going to bend this too because I see it's a little bit out of whack here. Now we're going to take our and make a loop down here at this end. Now, this one is longer than I actually want it to be. So, because it is longer, and I don't like this loop up here either, it's sort of nasty looking. So I'm going to see if I can't get that fixed a little bit. That looks better. But because this is longer than I need, in fact quite a bit longer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this loop off the bottom. Just cut it right there and just cut it off. And it flies across the room. And then I'm just going to take my pliers again and do a new loop down here. There we go. There is our hook. So now we just have to open up the end here. Hook our icicle on. Oops. And voila, there is our finished icicle. Isn't that pretty? Now, if it's a little bit out of whack here, as in it's not quite straight, just go ahead and play with it with your fingers till you get it to where you're happy with it. So there is our icicle, or icicle number 1. I think we'll probably make another one, but this is our first. And didn't it turn out pretty? Like I said, I cut a little bit less wire than I obviously needed because we didn't quite make it all the way up to the top. So I guess I should have added another inch or two to make that last little bit. But I think it's gorgeous. So now let's get some more beads and see about making a second one. Okay, for our second one, we're going to make it blue and clear. And we're going to get some more wire. Again, I've got the 18 gauge out. I'm fairly positive all these will fit. I've also got double bead caps again. Do you have to use double bead caps? No. In fact, if you were to use just simple bead caps, one on either side, the wire would go in between them easier. So, you know, that's something to think about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, I think, every other one of these blue beads with one of these crystal rondelles. Oh, stand back up, you. Like I said, it is a crystal rondelle. We want it to stand up like a rondelle. Now, the one place I was thinking about switching to a different kind of cap was right here. And that's because the end of my teardrop here is, of course, relatively small, which means that even though it does fit there, I mean, it will go there. It's not really close to it, but that's all right. Anyway, we again want to cut our wire the length of our beads, add some for top and bottom, and then, oops, I didn't keep track of that, so we'll have to do so again once we get over here. So take the length of your beads, add at least an inch on either side. Then you want that one and then another length. So I'm going to take it one more turn here through my wire loops here, and then I'm going to cut this right here. And I think that should be enough. If it's not, well, I know what to do, right? So again, we want to get our wire as straight as possible, at least for this first half. Once you get down to the bottom, it doesn't really matter because, let's face it, we're going to be wrapping. So we're going to bend over, get our bell making pliers out. Going to go with the second one here, up and over and around and down, and bring her around. And I left myself a little more this time so I could wrap this a little bit easier. So I'm going to, right there looks good. So we'll trim this off and tuck it in. Now, like I said, if you didn't, when I was working on the last one, if you didn't want to wrap it, you don't have to, especially if you use this thicker gauge wire like I'm using here, because it'll stay stiff enough with that without the extra. But if you decide to not do that, like I say, it's fine, but you can also wrap it just like we're doing here. So let's feed our beads on just like we normally would. Going right down the line as I've designed it. So this is an example of different types of beads, and these crystal rondelles are all the same size. We're just switching up with the other beads. So, and like I said, if you used 2 different bead caps here, you would have, you could go right between your bead caps when you go to make your spiral up your icicle. So there we go. There is the base piece done. Now we're going to do that bend. We're going to go up a little ways to do it. Not a lot, but a little bit. Going to make our loop. Now, if you don't want, like I said, if you don't want to put a charm on here, you don't have to. There's no law that says you have to. You could just turn it and go start wrapping right up. So I definitely have more wire this time than I had last time. See how long of a tail I've got here? So I'm going to do a couple of wraps. 1, 2, and then we're going to push this first bead and bead cap up, hold it while we wrap to it, and go around our bead cap. This is the hardest part, is getting this started right here, in my opinion anyway. So now we've gone there, we're going to go up here and around here. Hold it sort of in place because it wants to slide down. And this time I'm going to have plenty of wire. I don't know how much more I put than I did the last time, but this time we're going to have plenty of wire, so that's good. Oh, that got a kink right there. We want to get that kink out if possible. Now up and around this one here, and then our last one is right here, and then we're going to go around the neck. So anyway, the last bit, of course, is to wrap it up here around the head. Like I don't have that quite the way I want it, but we'll get it there. And because it's up a little higher than I'd like it to wrap, I want it to wrap down here a little bit lower. And that's all right. We'll just talk it into doing that. So there we go. Now we'll cut this last bit of wire off and tuck it in. So there's that piece pushed aside, and now we're going to tuck this in here. Now, with this is not a piece of jewelry, so you don't have to worry about your tuck so much, but it is nice to have it done good. So now the wires are wrapping around our jewels. And some of them are in the front, some of them are in the back. It doesn't matter. I mean, you don't have to have anything. It's not a perfection game. So the next thing we want to do is we want to put our charm on the bottom. And I have a different type of snowflake. The type I used on our red and green our snowflake yesterday. So we can put that one down here on the bottom of this one. So we have the smaller snowflake on this crystal one. And then we're going to have the bigger snowflake on this one. I think it's a little bigger as far as, yeah, see how much bigger it is than the other one? So we'll put this on here, and then we're going to use this last bit of 18 gauge wire since we are out of the 16 that I was using, or that was it 14 or 16? I'm not sure. For the others, this is thick enough for our hanger. It doesn't have to be atrociously thick, so we'll just make one of those then. So let's get a jump ring out and hook our snowflake on. So open up our jump ring here. and put our snowflake onto this, on the bottom of our icicle here, into our charm spot. Does it have to be a snowflake? No, you can put whatever charm here you want it. A snowman. Let's see, what other winter type charm could you have besides a snowman or a snowflake? If you have an ice skate, maybe an ice skate, anything like that. So let's get our edges fixed here on our wire. And then we'll take our pliers, our bell making pliers, and we're going to make that hanger. Now this hanger is not going to be as strong as the other hanger because it's not as thick a wire. But that's all right. We don't have to have that heavy of one. This wire is plenty thick enough. It's just not as thick. So we do that wrap around there. Now we take our flat nose, put that bend in right here. Now this is going to be again longer than I need it, so I'm going to cut some off right now. So we'll cut this right here, and now we're going to take our second size up and we're going to twist a loop right here. So there's our hook for this one. I'm going to wiggle this around a little bit because I don't, there. So now we'll open up this loop. Put our icicle on it and close it back up. Now if you didn't want to make your own hooks like I just did, you don't have to. You could use one, you know, like a store-bought one. That would be fine. But there we go. There are our two icicles we have made. Aren't they pretty? Like I said, we made them with the clear crystals first, and then we made our second one using blue and clear crystals. Do you have to use blue? No. You can use any color you want. It's not a requirement that it has to be clear or blue. You could make the whole thing bright red if you felt like it, but obviously I didn't. So I personally just prefer the blue and clear, or blue and white, or just the straight clear myself, just because that's what regular ice really looks like. So there we go. Aren't those pretty? So let's turn up and we'll show you how long they are. So here we go. Here's our two icicles. Here's this one, the blue and clear, with the snowflake, this bigger snowflake at the bottom. I love this big blue bead, don't you? It's really pretty. And then of course here is our all clear one, which I didn't manage to get my wire all the way to the top, so we stopped it right here at this double bead cap. Now, as I said, you do not need to use double bead caps. You can use any spacer. Another really great option other than double bead caps, if you want to, is use 2 bead caps, and then when you wrap, your wire will go between your 2 bead caps. So that makes it pretty simple too. Isn't that pretty? So again, there are our 2 icicles. As you can see, the blue one is a bit longer than the regular one, but aren't they oh so pretty? I really enjoy making these. I don't make them except for at this time of the year generally, but I think they are so pretty when I do make them. So I hope you enjoyed making them with me. This has been Rose from In Rose's Garden, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.